Today at my home garage, we do front and rear brakes on a Porsche Cayenne 2016 diesel, oil change, and we check the brake fluid. Let's get at it. Alright guys, brakes on a Porsche Cayenne are very simple. So first thing you do is remove the wheel, 19 millimeter to remove the wheel. Step 2 is you want to pry the pads out to compress the pistons in. I'll show you that now. If you don't have a proper piston expander tool, you can just use some screwdrivers. So all I do is get in here, pry the pad back, and because it's 6 pistons, they'll all want to squeeze each other back in. So what you do is jam a screwdriver in here until all of them are compressed back in. So then the next one you would do is there. You compress this one back in. Okay. Jam a screwdriver in there. Okay. Number 2, sorry 3, and then the final one is the top. And now you have all 6 pistons are compressed back in. Okay. Now you can remove this. And make sure the brake fluid reservoir is open, and that'll allow it easier for that to occur. So next step we're going to do is you're going to disconnect the brake pad sensor clip. You slide this in here, compress it down, and it should slide out. That's it. You won't be reusing that. We have new ones. Disconnect the bleeder nipple cover because it holds down the wire. Now this is good. It also gets tucked in here. Okay, next step is you're just gonna remove this. These are all held on by grommets. So you're just gonna remove. And then there's 2 behind here. You're literally just gonna push those out. You might need like a bigger flathead. And you're just gonna literally pry this off, and then there's the brake line. I'll show you it all next. It also has a little rubber that holds, it's like an anti-rattle dampener behind here. And you're just gonna pry the rubber out, or just, actually it'll come out. I'll show you what I mean. See right there? You're gonna have to put all these back in. So here, 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 and here for the wear sensor. So pretty much when you remove the caliper and we hang it with a bungee, this will just come out, and then we'll have to slide this rubber back in when we're done. So to remove the caliper, it is a M14. It does take quite a bit of force. I recommend the first time you do it, just hammer it in. We don't want to screw anything. Very tight. Now that you've removed the brake pads, just tidy everything up in here, clean it up. I'm actually going to lubricate the actual pad hole and not coat this, just in case the rotor touches it. And now you need a T20, a T50 to remove the rotor. Okay, rubber mallet. So, you take a look at the rotors. They're warped. They make noise, they squeal. There's a little lip developing. Looked like the previous owner might have replaced just the pads. Also, these are directional rotors. So make sure you have the direction on correctly. As you can see, how it dissipates heat and collects air on the inside. So make sure you're putting them on the correct way. Okay, step 1, clean up the surface. Never remove metal. I'm only scuffing the area. Okay. Another step you want to do is grab a brush and just remove some of this. Okay. Copper anti-seize. Grab your rotor. Line it up. It only goes on one way. Have your bolt. Okay. Once it's on straight, you can tighten it. You don't want any anti-seize or anything on the rotor, so grab a clean rag, just clean it up, or grab some brake clean, even better. Just tidy up the rotor. Grab your new brake pads. I went with the whole power stop kit from Rock Auto, and it comes with pad sensors as well. We'll see how good the quality is. So remember, one pad's on the inside. The pad that's on the inside has the sensor on it, and the pad on the outside doesn't. So what I like to do is grab some anti-seize, coat the back where the pistons make contact and the holes where they ride. Okay? Now you slide number 1 back in. You slide it inside the hole. You let it rest on the clips, and you push down, and that holds it in place. Grab your next pad. Same idea. You want to coat where the pistons make contact, and then just lubricate this hole because it could make contact there. On the slide pins, same idea. You're going to push down and slide them onto the pins. That's it. Like that. So you want them resting like that before you go in. They slide in on those pins. You see those there? So first thing you're going to do is push them down onto these retaining clips, which keep the tension. They're like dampeners. And then you slide them, push down, and then into these slots. The next step is you're going to take your bungee cord out. Spin it around and slide it on. If you hadn't compressed those pistons, you would not be able to slide this on because the pistons move in as the pad wears. So if you put new pads on, it's going to go back to the original thickness when it was new and it will not slide on. And then you'll be taking it all apart again to do the same job over. So that's why you do that. So here are our bolts. I like to just coat them with a little bit of anti-seize just in case you ever want to go in there again. I don't want to deal with any corrosion or anything that might come. Okay. Grab our gun. As you saw how much torque it took to loosen. So just imagine what the torque is to tighten. I'm going to have to double check the torque, but I'm honestly just going to gun it on. So don't do one, get them good. Get them both snug first. Give it 2 zaps. And you should be good to go. If you don't have a gun, then you got to make sure that is on nice and straight in the hole. Hammer it down and then use a big wrench because you're going to need it. Okay, so now we're going to attach this. So you slide it in here. Then it slides through where the bleeder is, around the nipple holder. Okay, grab your connector. The connector slides into the slot first, then your connector goes on. And there, it's in now. Now you're just pretty much gonna push all these rubber grommets back into their holders. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 5 contact points, okay? So the rubber one for the line is the toughest. I can't really show you, but pretty much it has a slot where the rubber slides in. You just gotta maneuver it in so it sits nice inside. It just prevents this line from rattling, the brake line. Okay, and then the last one is the ABS sensor on the back. I use 2 hands and just push it in, and there you go. And that's it. That's brakes on a Porsche Cayenne. Very easy. Probably the easiest brakes in the history of the world. So right now what I'll do is, I just get this, and I'm just gonna double check that it's nice and tight, which it should be. Okay, everything's on tight. Okay, so those are your anti-rattle clips. I didn't even bother replacing them because they're fine. So those, if you do want to replace them, you put them on, you remove them after the pads come out, put them in before you put everything together because they're going to hold the pads in when you put everything on. And you cannot put them in from the top. I damaged one of the new clips trying that, so don't even try that, okay? So that's completed. Everything, harness, everything is on. Backside, there's your rubber grommet for the brake line. It's on. As you can see, it comes up through here and it just sits inside that slot there. Everything's good. It's only one bolt that holds this whole assembly. These 2 bolts here hold the entire assembly and it comes out. There's your bolt that holds the rotor, and that's it. I don't put anything on the outside because it's treated. I just put it behind because it's not treated, okay? All right, guys, that's the front brakes on a Porsche Cayenne. I'm gonna zip up the tires, put the oil in, and then work on the rear. Move the wheel. Wait. All right, step one. We're just gonna pry these pads back. You're just gonna put it in between here. You're not reusing the pads, it doesn't matter. Okay. Then you're gonna grab a pair of smaller ones. You just want to pry in between the brake pad and the rotor. Okay? Make sure that it's all the way in. And you got to do them at the same time. Because if you don't, then they move back in. Okay? So just do both sides. Okay? There we go. Okay? Next step is you want to disconnect the sensor for the parking pad, brake pad. Okay? So that is located right there. So what you're going to do is you're going to put this in here and push back. Okay? There we go. It's just full of dirt, that's why. Okay? So you have this. Okay? What you do is, this thing, you want to rotate. It'll want to come out of here. Alright? Okay? There. See, as you rotate, okay? It's out. Okay. Now you're going to see a couple rubber grommets. I'll point them out to you and then I'll release them. So you want to lift this one. There's one right there. You want to release that one. And then there's one right there. You want to release these three. And that'll allow the caliper movement, okay? So I'll just release those. So one, and then two, okay? So now this can move around. Like when we can lay the caliper down on here. Okay, so the next step is we're gonna remove these bolts. Same as the front, M14s. So just make sure it's on. Okay. There's one. Okay. Two. Okay. Okay. All right, so now that that's out, okay, you can remove the brake pads quite easily. One thing I've noticed is you can't take out the sensor and the pad at the same time. So what you're gonna do is just pry the old sensor off. I know it's hard to see from there. So what you're gonna do is, see the sensor down there? That's the sensor. We have new ones. So what we can do, what I'm gonna do is just pry this out. So what we do is pry this pad out first. Okay, see the sensor there? It won't come through that hole. So we just have to pry it out of here. Okay, we have new ones, so it doesn't matter. Pull the old cable through. So this is the same way you're gonna install the new one. Cable through, attach it to the pad, and then slide the pad on. As you can see, the brake pad, little squeal line there, it's been making noise. All right, same thing with the other one. You just literally pry forward. And you're gonna install the pads the same way. Make sure you remove any debris, broken pieces of rust. Just try to tidy these up a bit right here. These are the slide pins that it slides on. Okay. So next step is we'll install the new pads now before we replace the rotor. Okay. So here's brake pad number one. Okay. Like I said, you slide this through here. Okay. And we just attach this. So the thin part faces down and clips on. That's it. And now you can slide this down like so. And see how it doesn't line up with the little pins? So as you press down, oh, sorry. So as you press down, it keeps like a tension on the pins. So there's one. Second pad, same idea. It slides in here, okay, and then you just push down, and there are your pads. Okay, so now that that's done, we're gonna replace the rotor. Okay. Okay, so first step with the rotor is we want to remove any, we're gonna see if it just comes off. Okay. Sometimes the buildup of rust on the inside, because this has an internal parking brake, will prevent us from removing the rotor. Oh, let's see. Okay, there we go. Okay, well, there's the rotor. Okay, so we're going to tidy this up now. Some corrosion and the rust. This has an adjuster, but it's also an electronic parking brake, so we will make an adjustment on this. always get a bit of sanding paper or a scuff pad and just re-scuff this. Make sure there's no lips. Okay, so there we go. All right. On the rotor, there is a little butt, a little tab, and it is a M5 triple square. I'll show you guys that now. So it's an M5 triple square for the adjustment screw, which is this right here. So you're gonna put this on your new rotor after you adjust it. And then the actual rotor is held on by a T50. So now we're gonna clean up the hub. Okay, so this is the adjusting hole. Okay, so what you do is you adjust the parking brake till it's tight, till you can't turn the rotor, then you turn it back 3 turns, okay? There's a little wheel. I don't know if you'll be able to see. Let me get my light. Okay, so you keep rotating it, you're gonna end up seeing a wheel. I think it's on this side. Okay. Maybe I went the wrong way, tighten. Okay, so now, as you can see, it's very tight. So what we do from here is we loosen it. 1, 2, 3. So now, good. Okay, so now we're good. Adjust it properly. Now we can put this back on. Okay. Okay. Next step is put our caliper on. Okay. Now the only reason our caliper slides on is because we pushed the pistons back in. If we hadn't pushed the pistons in, the caliper would not slide on like that because you have brand new brake pads that have a ton of material on. So that is the reason why you're pushing those pistons back in. No special tools were required. Now you're going to put your bolts back on. Make sure you line them up and get the thread started before using any power tools or air tools, in my case. Grab your ratchet, give it a good tightening. I don't know the torque, but I don't think it's very important. Unless you're cynical, you can check online. Alright, the next step is you reconnect all the sensors, the sensor and all the little rubber grommets that you disconnected. So, step 1 is you grab your sensor and it slides in here. It slides in the hole first and then turns just like the way you removed it. And then your sensor can go on. Okay, and now you're just going to connect all those rubbers that you undid one at a time. 1, 2. Okay, so now all your rubbers are on. Everything's connected. Nothing's loose. Look everything over. Bolts are tight. Pads are on. Rotor still spins. Okay, check everything out. Make sure everything's in its proper place. And now you're done. That concludes rear brakes on a Porsche Cayenne. As you can see, not very difficult. A little bit, you have to play with the parking brake assembly adjustment, but that's it. You can leave it the way it is if you want. If you can get the rotor back on, but you might have to back it off because, don't forget, your new rotors are unworn. The old rotors wore out some of the inner brake lining on the rotor, right? So that's why you got to back it off slightly and then readjust it. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to finish up the oil change now, which there's already a video on, and put the wheels on, and then we're going to take this thing for a drive. Remember I said when we did the brakes, take the reservoir cap off? See, now the fluid's all the way at the top. So what I'm going to do now is depress the brake pedal to bring that fluid down. Now that the brake fluid's gone down, we're going to wipe up the area, put the cap back on. Before we forget, put our covers back on. Very simple to install these covers. If you see any debris in here, take it out while you're here. Okay. Now this little piece on the end slides under here. Slides on like so. And there we go. Now it's on. Okay, we can start filling our oil.